Hello my friends, welcome to my new video. I'm in Uzbekistan now and I'm so excited to show this country to you. Let's go! Uzbekistan is a country located in Central Asia. Its population is 36 million people. I didn't know much about the country besides the fact that it was the part of the Soviet Union. But during this journey I learned much more about Uzbekistan. So in this video with my friends Dasha and Slava I will visit several places. The capital, Tashkent, the Amirsoy Mountain resort and the cities of Samarkand and Bukhara. I like to start the acquaintance with the country right on the plane. So this is the food you are served on board of the Uzbekistan Airlines. It was really tasty. I also like this unusual safety announcement video. It is set in the desert and people wear traditional clothes. The flight from Tbilisi to Tashkent took me just 3 hours, and finally we are in Uzbekistan. First, we checked into our hotel and there we had to register. We got such a paper with information about the dates of our stay. Without this registration, you cannot buy a SIM card. On our first day, me and Dasha wanted to get a SIM card, so we went somewhere to the center of the city. On Google Maps we found Beeline. It is actually a company based in Russia, but we could not pay with our cards. So we have Turkish and Georgian Visa cards. Yes, we are no longer subhumans who cannot use a debit card. It still didn't work, and they said that we should either have a local Uzbek card or pay with cash. We didn't have cash, so then Dasha went to an ATM and cashed it out. And later we learned that probably it was just a way to avoid taxes. And I noticed that here in Uzbekistan it depends from a place to a place. Either you can pay with Apple Pay or your foreign cards or not. So it's better to always have cash with you and feel like a billionaire. We cashed out money and oh my god, it is such a big pack, and it's just how many? $180. And this is a 2 million sum. So we got change and the new banknotes that I have not seen. This is 1000 sum, beshbarmak 5000. I like how they look. And 10,000. And now let's explore Tashkent. It is the largest city in terms of population in Central Asia. Almost 3 million people live here. And in fact, the city reminded me of Russia in many ways. Just without any fence. What is unusual here compared to Georgia and what is totally familiar compared to Russia are huge distances and just large spaces. So now I'm walking near this highway, very large, so many cars, and all these buildings, they're so massive like that. Hotel Uzbekistan. Because in Georgia they have less space, of course, and that's why all the roads are more narrow and buildings are located closer to each other. But here I see this big scale. I pinned a wrong point for the coffee shop. It was supposed to be on this building but from another side. So the taxi driver took me to this backyard and look what I found here. Looks like preparation for Quidditch lesson. Which one do you like? This or maybe this? Magic outside of Hogwarts. Let's explore this yard. A chic new shopping. This is some advertisement. Soft furniture, pre-order, restoration. It's interesting that it is in Russian and in cursive. Is the entrance to Hogwarts? Can you hear these birds? They're so loud in the city. This looks so familiar, this old Soviet playground. I don't know since what year it is here, but I would say for a long time. This metal seat was quite hard, preparing you for the harsh childhood in a post-Soviet country. And look at this karmushka, a cute little feed place for the birds. It's even not empty. And this one, this slides. It always amazes me how buildings and playgrounds are similar in all post-Soviet countries. Another legacy of the USSR or even the Russian Empire is the fact that the Russian language is very common here. Alongside Uzbek, Russian remains the language most used in public life and governmental institutions. The Tajik, Kazakh, and Uyghur languages are also common here, but the official language is Uzbek. The Uzbek language is a part of the Turkic language family. If you are a speaker of any Turkic language, I think many of these words will be familiar to you.
Keyingi bekat xalqlar do'stligi. Hurmatli yo'lovchilar, yosh bolali, nogiron va yoshi katta yo'lovchilarga joy bering.
We came to a bookstore called Mir Knigi, which is World of Books, and I was surprised to know that there's like 90% of books in Russian, the same issues that I saw in Russian bookstores, and we found only one section of books in Uzbek language. For example, this is a novel by the French writer Jules Verne, and it is in Uzbek. It's written in Latin letters. But here, for example, they use Cyrillic letters. It is a famous book by a Russian writer Evgeny Zamyatin. In Russian it's called «Мы», it is a dystopia, and in Uzbek it's called «Biz», and here they use Cyrillic letters. I wish there were more books in Uzbek language, but yeah. This is an encyclopedia, and here, again, you can see Latin letters. Ondatra, oh, it's the same in Russian. Los. In Russian, it's лось. In different historical periods, both Arabic alphabet and Latin letters were used for the Uzbek language. In Soviet times, at first there was an alphabet based on the Latin letters, then it was changed to Cyrillic letters. After the collapse of the USSR, Uzbek was again transferred to the Latin alphabet, but today the Cyrillic is still often used, and on the street you can find a mix of both alphabets. You know what's funny? When I see Uzbek language written in Cyrillic letters, it looks like Tatar to me. When I see it in Latin letters, it looks like Turkish. It is amazing to see how the Turkic languages are related, even though the Turkic-speaking countries and regions are located so far apart. A store just on the ground. This is a remedy from cockroaches. Look at this cockroach. Looks like this KFC opened recently because there's such a big line, and here's even a sign, I love KFC. And now we are in Chilanzor, one of the remote districts of the city. Here I'll go to a grocery store to show you what food you can find in Uzbekistan and how much it costs. 2.5 kilograms of such potatoes cost 22,000 soon, and I will put the prices here, translated to dollars. Why they all are from Russia? С Новым годом! It's a New Year package. So such a medium pack of lace will cost you 60,000 sum. Oh my god, what is this? Тесто для мампар. So in just tiny pieces of dough. And what is mampar? I don't know, probably something from local cuisine. And it says that it's halal product. I have no idea what this is, but it contains wheat, not only wheat, but проросшая пшеница. Then wheat flour and sunflower oil. Maybe it's something like a foundation for soups. Here you can see a lot of Korean products. So this is kimchi. Such a pack of fermented cabbage will cost you 31,000 sum. Maybe there are Korean goods because there is a big Korean diaspora in Uzbekistan because, you know, in the Soviet times, Stalin deported people from one region to another. He exiled Koreans from Primorsky Krai to Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. That's why there are still Korean people living. Iran. I've never seen it. As far as I know, Iran is fermented milk product, maybe like Russian kefir or ryazinka, and maybe I should try it. Yeah, let's try it. Wow, look at this, so beautiful. It says Hayat, I don't know what it means, and it is made in the shape of a plate. This is just usual white wheat bread. Wow, you see, it's like bread with little holes. Interesting. Probably Iran will be spoiled in like 2 hours, so I should drink it now. It is really sour and tastes, well, yeah, it's kind of like Russian ryazinka, but even more sour. And I like it, and maybe we'll finish it all. It says, "Good village morning." I'm stalked by a kid who wants to take my Iran. And this boy started asking me to give this drink to him, and then he followed me for 2 minutes, and then probably these men are his like hosts, and then he started following them because he didn't achieve to take my drink. That was scary. After such an encounter, I decided to return to the city center, and for this I had to use the subway. Now let's check out Tashkent metro stations. This one is called Shalomzor. It's not that fancy, but anyway, let's go. There is a man who checked some people with the metal detector, and he didn't check me. I bought my ticket for just one-way ride. It costs 1,400 su. And as exchange, we got coins, 500 and 100. So, what is that? Is it some modern art installation? Oh, I could actually pay with just Apple Pay. The Tashkent subway was opened in 1977, the first in Central Asia. Like all Soviet metros, it is very beautifully decorated. Now we came to another fancy metro station. This station is called Pakhtakor. In translation from Uzbek, it is cotton grower. You can see the image of cotton on the walls. Uzbekistan has always been one of the leaders in cotton growing. And actually, just several years ago, it was not allowed to film in the metro stations in Uzbekistan, but now, thanks, they allowed people to observe all this beauty. Riding on this metro felt like Russian underground, but probably not in Moscow, because you know, in Moscow all these stations are really modernized. Probably in some smaller Russian cities like Nizhny Novgorod you can see the same. It gives off Soviet vibe, and I can say the same about stations in Tbilisi, Georgia. And actually today I didn't show you the best stations of Tashkent, because there are stations like Kosmonavtlar or Alisher Navoy, and they're absolutely amazing. So today I visited only 2 of them. I think it's fine. This is a very common thing that I met in all the districts of this city, even next to the airport. These narrow ditches, it is really dangerous actually. Just next to the bus stop and the sidewalk, you can go and fall. And if it's made for the rainwater, why not to cover it with some grates? In Tashkent, there are many unique places. For example, Chorsu Bazaar, an ancient market in the city center. I didn't go there, but we will see a traditional Uzbek market later in this video. At the same time, Tashkent is a usual modern big city where you can find anything you need. from malls to schools of English. I was surprised to see so many English language schools and international universities here. There's even a train. So I wanted to find socks with prints of Uzbekistan, like I found in Georgia, for example. But here it seems that these socks are made in Russia or brought from Russia, because these prints, they are really common there. And it's kind of cringy because I think only teenagers wear it with such words. It's like, go F yourself, shut up, bitch. And,
go to S.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's in English actually. They even have a CY kick, like I can do it. Then we visited this fancy district called Tashkent city. So this is a residential complex that is still being built. Now it seems empty, but I think when all these houses will be finished, and they will be expensive of course, there will be more people and more lively atmosphere. One more place we visited was this park, Magic City. Pepsi is highly targeted here. It's wins over Coke. So they even have a Pepsi town here, and here's Pepsi everywhere. So let's check it out. Well, it looks like Nikolskaya Street in Moscow. But we weren't impressed because these illuminated stores looked unnatural. It was like we were walking through the scenery. But still, there were a lot of local people, and probably for them it is a significant place. But if you want to relax outside the city, you can go to the mountains. We devoted 2 days for going to the Amirsoy ski resort, located not so far from the capital. It was a challenge to get there because our car stuck in the snow.
Чуть-чуть назад берите.
These are trails from the chain. I've never seen people using chains for such situations. Then the hotel owner found a rope that didn't look very secure, but did the job. We're stuck again, and people are helping us. But finally, we got to the ski resort.
Welcome on board, Uzbekistan Airlines.
Honestly, I did not much associate Uzbekistan with mountains. Yeah, let's check out this ski resort. It was opened in 2019 and it is the most modern ski resort in Central Asia. There I even tried skiing for the first time and probably the last time. I feel so nervous. So finally I waited for my instructor and I'm so nervous. I already did the first way here from a little hill. It is so scary, like I fell 2 times. This is the hill, really not steep. Even to stand out of this thing, it's also hard. I asked my instructor just to walk here on the surface because it's easier. I will give you a master class. I will never do that again. But overall, I really enjoy this place. Fun. And now let's go to a restaurant and try some Uzbek food. So I ordered a dish called beshbarmak, and beshbarmak is a dish of Turkic peoples. Mostly it was made in Kazakhstan, but it exists in other countries, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan. And what is interesting is that in the Russian regions, Tatarstan and Bashkiria, there is also such a dish. And it is basically horse meat. I haven't tried it yet, so let's try. Horse meat tastes as lamb, but it's softer, and I really like this flavor. But then I noticed something unusual in the menu. It says 40% discount for the whole menu to the companies of girls from Monday to Thursday after 8 p.m. Was it made to keep female companies in the restaurant so that this place attracts more wealthy men? I can't come up with any other explanation than this. What do you think? Walking on the streets of Tashkent, I noticed that Uzbek men really often just stare at me and Dasha when we are passing them by. It's not that they're just looking at us with some interest and then look away. No, they're just staring, and it's not like we are unusual looking tourists for them, like Slavic girls. No, because actually in Uzbekistan there are many people with Slavic appearance. They are descendants of Russians who moved here in the Soviet times. So there are many Russians living in Uzbekistan from their birth. So it's not like we looked unusual to them. No, they just looked at us. By the way, recently Dasha and I visited Turkey, and we experienced absolutely the same thing. These men didn't even try to hide that they were staring at us. That was very scary and annoying. Anyway, that was my impressions of the capital, but we also wanted to see other cities of the country. So now let's go to the Tashkent railway station.
Here you will check out your bag and yourself.
Yeah, like in Russia. The train conductors wore such a beautiful uniform, and we even asked to take a picture of it. Well, compared to that high-speed train to Batumi, this one, because
like more space, and also we have here a table.
Yeah, table and the special little like bench. They even give us some food.
The train we took was made in Spain, and its technical capabilities can allow it to accelerate as fast as 300 kilometers an hour. But in fact, using the local railroad system, it can only do 230, which is a bit less than its maximum capacity. But we got from Tashkent to Samarkand in 2 hours and 8 minutes, and we can't complain. It was really fast.
So this is Tashkent. We took the train down to Samarkand, and now on our way there is Bukhara. And I'm surprised to know that Tashkent is located actually on the narrow part of the country, like very narrow. And look at these fields. I wish I could spend more days here and visit more cities. And even here they have Pepsi. We are abused by local taxi drivers and tour guides. Samarkand is among the oldest continuously inhabited cities in Central Asia. In ancient times, the city was a key point on the Great Silk Road between China and Europe, as well as one of the centers of science in the medieval East. In Samarkand, there also were a lot of Soviet apartment blocks, but overall the city seemed more pleasant. It was quieter than Tashkent. For our lunch, we came to this lovely place right on the road.
This is one of the signature dishes of Uzbekistan. It's called samsa. Those are small, tiny pies. Well, sometimes they actually come in larger sizes, but these are small. They come with meat. But if you're a vegetarian, they can cook one with potatoes. And they're absolutely delicious. And the cooking process will start in 10 minutes. And they cook them in those ovens called tandoors.
Let's look at the process of making samsa. First, the cook warms up the tandoor and then sprinkles it with water, from a Pepsi bottle, of course. And I want to know the construction that all this stands on, just this wood thing on bricks, and well, I love it. This raw pale dough is ready to go into the oven, and now the cook is attaching the pies to the walls of the tandoor. They don't fall because the dough is wetted with salt water and is kind of glued to the wall. This looks fascinating. And after some time, we get this ruddy golden samsa. Slava said, maybe we should finally buy Pepsi because there's so much Pepsi. Who will win? Oh my god, they are enemies, but they love each other. Pepsi and Coke. How is it possible? Even here they have a green card agency that helps you with filling out the questionnaires and getting visa, hopefully. Green card office. Oh no. Oh my god, I found friends to my pigeon. They're colorful. It's so funny that at first I didn't realize that these pigeons were just painted. Somehow I thought that this is just their breed. Then the guys told me like they were painted. Animals exploitation. Poor birds. After that, we went to one of the most famous places of the country, Registan. From Persian, it is translated as a sandy place. Registan was the name given to the main squares in the cities of the Middle East. This square in Samarkand is the most famous one due to this ensemble of 3 madrasas. When we came closer to the Registan, a woman approached us and offered to be our guide. We agreed, and over the next hour she walked us around this ensemble and told us a lot of interesting facts that we wouldn't learn if we walked ourselves.
8 век приносит религию ислам, и женщины стали носить паранджу, покрывать тело с головы до ног и, естественно, лицо. Вот это покрытие лица, оно было сплетено из конской гривы.
It was so unusual to realize that we were walking around the square where once life was in full swing, where madrasa students scurried about rushing to classes. We also visited rooms that once served as a dormitory for the students. Now souvenirs are sold in these premises. You can buy products made by local craftsmen. And now we're gonna take this cute bus to the next attraction.
Сколько проезд? 2000. Поехали!
Ура! And now we are at the Siob Bazaar, the biggest market in the city. World of eggs. The salespeople here are used to tourists, and they often give you something to try.
Спасибо.
These are pickles, garlic, poor Coke. It's suffering so much in this video.
Шафран афганский. Написано вообще gift from Afghanistan.
Запах плова. Плов прям так пахнет.
Да. Samarkand halva.
So I just bought halwa for my granddad. This one looks so interesting. Can I show this to the camera?
Поддержка.
Look how it looks like. This local sweets called halwa.
And now I want to share with you this thing that I basically came for to this country. It is a fermented cheese called kurt, and now we are gonna try. It's very sour. Trying spicy kurt. This one with basil. Later, I found kurt sold even in vending machines. This is kind of a vending machine with sunflower seeds. They are salted and not salted. Oh my god, this is that yellow carrot that they are making pilaf with. And also there's the usual one, but I mean, I see it for the first time. Also, we visited this mausoleum with such amazing turquoise mosaics. There's some drama happening. These screaming people, some of their company were arrested for begging, and now they are screaming, trying to take their peers back. At the market they also were, and I felt really uncomfortable when that woman, she touched my shoulder and asked for money. As a tourist, you should be careful all the time. Anyway, these were my impressions of Samarkand. And now let's take a train to the next city, Bukhara.
Tashkent, Samarkand, Bukhara. Yana poyezdimizga ko'rishdan va xizmatingizda bo'lishdan mamnun bo'lamiz. Xayr.
As soon as we arrived in Bukhara, we got into a conversation with a taxi driver, and he told us that many Russian men came to this city running from the mobilization in the September of 2022.
Большой самолет вверх, 250 человек. Все россияне поголовно, мужики. Везде по республике, да. Ну, а что делать? Всем жить хочется. Кому нужна эта мобилизация? Могилизация.
I was surprised to hear from the taxi driver. I thought that they mostly come to the capital, Tashkent, but even here, this city is 270,000 population. Anyway, first we went to check in at our hotel. We came to our hotel, and it is made on the place of old madrasa, and it looks really cool. Oh wow. So our room will be in one of these short doors. It is a historical part of the hotel. Oh my god, will it fit in? Dasha, hello!
Hey,
How
so cute, I love it here.
Quite an unusual lock we have. I've never did that. Actually, I was mistaken. It was not a madrasa. It was a caravanserai. This is a name for hotel for merchants who came here and they lived here while they were trading and so on. Yeah, but the concept is the same. People lived in such tiny rooms. That's really cool. And we are drinking coffee. We asked if it's local coffee. No, it's just Nescafe. And after that, we went to eat plov or pilaf, one of my favorite dishes. So we asked to give us 3 portions, but in one plate. Oh yeah, even Dasha says 2 portions, but it's so huge. And this is horse meat. The workers even allowed us to enter the kitchen and film the cooking process. But we noticed that besides us, there were almost no women in the restaurant.
The place is quite atmospheric. I love it here, and I definitely recommend everybody to come. But worth to say that Natasha and I start thinking that we're very glad that Slava was with us, because the majority of people were men. I don't think something could happen, to be honest, but still, the feeling itself, like, it's much better.
The stairs.
Yeah, exactly.
We found some YouTube car. Shahriyor Vlog. So it's a channel mostly about life here, about jewelry it seems, and about iPhones. It's interesting. I thought that there is something about food. Then we visited this Bukhara tower, which once was a water tower, but today there is a restaurant and an observation deck. It's funny because the cashier said for people from Asia it's 25,000, but for people from Europe it's 40,000. We asked, we are from Russia, what continent we are, and yeah, apparently Asia.
Technically, I'm in Asia because Ekaterinburg is in Asia.
Me too.
So is Natasha. She's from
Me
Asia.
too, and Dasha is European.
Natasha, sorry, you have to pay more.
No.
Wali. Bukhara is one of the oldest cities in Central Asia. In the Middle Ages, it was the center of culture, science, and Muslim theology of the entire Middle and Near East. And like Samarkand, it is also located on one of the routes of the Great Silk Road. Oh, I've just noticed there is a real camel. Is it just a statue? So poor. He's probably really tired of riding people. Then we went to see this fortress called the Ark. In addition to being a military structure, it was a residence of Bukhara rulers and royal courts. Well, I am really impressed by this museum. You know, I previously thought that there's no sense to take a guide, but we had a guide in Samarkand, now here, and it is much more interesting because he doesn't show you everything, but only the most important details to fully understand all the history. And to be honest, I now realize that I was so ignorant about this part of the world. And now I'm so impressed by the fact that Uzbekistan, this territory actually was a place for many different emirates. Then Soviet authorities separated all these regions as they wanted, not even accordingly to different cultural differences. So that's all very interesting. During the 1920 Battle of Bukhara, the Ark was greatly damaged by the Soviet Red Army. The Bukhara Emirate was defeated and replaced by the Bukharan People's Soviet Republic. The last emir of Bukhara had to flee and he had to escape to Afghanistan. It is a palace called A Place Where the Stars Meet the Moon, and this building is really beautiful. Hello, bird! You would be friends with my pigeon. This is the boy, and this is the girl. After the advent of Soviet power, this complex was transformed into a museum, but actually, this was the summer residence of the last emir. And it is so sad, like he built it for 7 years and then he had to leave it all. And then the Soviet powers made a sanatorium here. So we saw that ugly block building, which is not matching all the other interiors of this place. We took one more interesting tour guide, and the man who was giving us a tour was actually Tajik. And he knows Tajik language, I mean Farsi, and he told us that when tourists from Iran come to Bukhara, they just speak with them in Farsi and everybody understands each other. This once again showed me how diverse and unique the culture of Uzbekistan is. So this was my video from my 1 week travel to Uzbekistan, and now I want to share some conclusions with you. In fact, I had so many stereotypes and prejudice about this country because the only representation of Uzbekistan I had was from immigrants who come to Russia from Uzbekistan, from Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, and really often they are treated badly by their employers. They are working mostly low-paid jobs, and they are also subjected to racism and xenophobia from different radical groups, even from the officials who say, oh, these immigrants are committing crimes and they are destroying our true Russian culture. And these stereotypes are spread by radical people and even by some Russian TV channels who just want to find a scapegoat. And even I, when I was a teenager, also believed in that prejudice. But actually, there is evidence that immigrants are not committing the most crimes, and there are statistics about that you can stop and read. So this visit to Uzbekistan definitely opened my mind, and I saw that this country has such a rich culture, but I want to point out that the places I show you in this video are very touristy. I probably didn't show you the real life of people in Uzbekistan. So if you are from Uzbekistan, feel free to write in the comments what you liked about this video. Maybe I got something wrong and you want to add something to it. Also, I actually never planned to go to Uzbekistan, but as a citizen of Russia, I cannot go to many countries of the world now, and I cannot get a tourist visa there because I cannot return to Russia. So I decided why not to travel to some post-Soviet Central Asian countries. But at the same time, I'm scared of those countries because they are extradited people to Russia, where they were put to jail for their anti-war activism. So I don't think that in general Central Asia countries are safe for Russian opposition. One more funny thing is that recently the Uzbekistan president rewrote the constitution so that he can remain in power until 2042. And being from a country where a president did the same, rewrote the constitution, I don't think that this leads to good consequences. But anyway, I hope that one day the situation will be better. And actually, Uzbekistan is already more open now than it was several years ago, and the tourism is developing. And I think it is relatively safe to travel there. The only thing that I'm scared is, again, the government and the policemen. Basically, the same I was scared of when I was in Russia. Thank you so much for watching this long video. Write in the comments what you liked, what was new and unusual for you in Uzbekistan, and also write what you like more, Pepsi or Coke. Goodbye. Пока-пока.